What's good, everyone? It's your boy Natsu with another video for the channel. Welcome back to DMV Sports Zone. And I, of course, have Noah. You guys know Noah, another content creator on this channel, one of four, right? We are two of four. And we are here to break down the epic win by the Washington football team over the Carolina Panthers. What are your immediate thoughts on this win that Washington just got and Ron Rivera just got, right? Back home in Carolina.
My immediate thoughts are this: I'll be first one to admit. Usually on those fantasy videos, I'm hitting, but Washington defense proved me wrong today. They really proved me wrong. I mean, you saw huge fourth down. De'Aaron Payne came up the middle, but we gotta Cam Curl. We gotta acknowledge the rest of that defense. Even William Jackson the third. We came up in huge moments, and that's something that the Washington football defense has failed to do pretty much the entire season. Whenever it was it mattered, 3rd and 5, 4th and 2, even 3rd and 10, we couldn't stop a beach ball. But the Washington football defense came in and really performed up to expectations. And there's a controversy right now because Chase Young's out, yet we played the best defensive game we've ever played all season.
Would you care to elaborate on that further, my friend?
Yeah. So first things first, they've started to be a lot more creative with the defensive line. I think before it was just traditional 4-3. They had Sweat, Payne, Allen, Young. But now with Young out, they had to be a lot more creative. You saw Jonathan Allen go out to DN, De'Aaron Payne moving around, not just playing nose tackle. And he showed his athleticism. We're wasting him, wasting me at the 0 tech or the 1 tech. We can move around, be creative with our defensive line. As a result, our secondary and our linebackers are able to play more of a natural role instead of being forced into a box. And that's where the Washington defense thrives. Really be creative, really be with the blitz packaging, the coverage packages, which we did last year. And, weird way, with Chase Young out, we were allowed to do that in a way. With Chase Young, they were kind of forced to play their role, but that's not how they thrive. They thrive as rovers. They thrive as multifaceted Swiss Army knives in that line. So it's a controversy, I'm telling you.
Okay. I definitely think the defense played extraordinary today. I'll give you in our immediate thoughts, in my immediate thoughts before going into questions, I'll give you 3 breakout players, 3 players that absolutely carried us to the win today. The first one, and you guys know that I'm super critical on him. I still don't think he's the answer here at quarterback. But today kind of proved otherwise a little bit, and that is Taylor Heinicke. Taylor Heinicke, I said this on Twitter, the best game in his relatively short Washington football team career. 16 for 22, 206 yards, 3 passing touchdowns. Not just the passing touchdowns, the conversions is what was most impressive to me. There are a couple like 3rd down conversions, but I think there's one 4th down conversion in particular. We talked about this off camera, where this man was scrambling. I thought it was going to be a sack. He scrambled to the left, and he found, I believe it was John Bates, like 3 or 4 yards down the field, and ultimately that got us the 1st down conversion on 4th and 3. And this man's was just absolutely phenomenal. I think he had a flawless game. Besides the one overthrow of Terry McLaurin, which we also talked about off camera, that would have won us the game because that would have put us up by 10. And I think there was like a minute and 20 seconds or a minute and 50 seconds because AG didn't go out of bounds. That would have been left. But other than that, he had a flawless game. So that's my first, we got to mention this man, and we'll talk about him a little bit further in the stream. The second guy, Terry McLaurin, number 17. I feel like if you guys are wondering, if you're a young fan out there and you're wondering what player's jersey you want to get of the Washington football team, like when you're thinking like long term, like is this player going to stay here for a long time? Is this player going to produce a long time? I feel like you should ask me. We talked about this before. I think it was last year we talked about this. Ryan Kerrigan was the last jersey I had, right? And I bought that in 2013. And Terry McLaurin is I know there's been a big gap, of course, but Terry McLaurin I bought last year, and this man's is an absolute baller. I mean, I feel like there isn't too much to say about him because we already know he's definitely top 10 receiver. And if you don't think so, I'm throwing hands, bro. Like, not literally, but like he definitely is. He had 5 catches, 103 yards, a touchdown. Should have had that second touchdown at the end of the game. Absolutely phenomenal. And if he has this kind of quarterback play every single game, or maybe more games over the course of the season, then he could get up to like 1,500 yards in a season. But obviously, that probably won't happen, right? When you have Taylor Heineke or any other quarterback that we've had here in DC. So that's number 2. Number 3, we also talked about him off camera. I mentioned him in a tweet. I even tagged his father, who we had on an interview a couple weeks ago. Cameron Curl, the best defensive player on this team. Cameron
Oh,
how many, at least right now, with Chase Young out and Montez Sweat out? Actually, no. After Jonathan Allen. Okay, so
okay, there we go.
There you go. I'm a John Allen fan. Been so for a long time. So after John Allen, and obviously with the 2 defensive ends out, I think he's the best defensive player on this team. He played the best today, at least. I don't know how many potential conversions other offenses had, and this man stops them before the line of scrimmage. Of course, we saw that one at the end of the game, right? 4th and 3. I believe Christian McCaffrey was like right at the sticks, but Cam Curl ultimately prevented him from getting there. Like, and this happens every single game. I've noticed it, and he's just a super clutch player. I'm glad that he's on our team, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. But do you have any thoughts on my comments before we get into questions?
Yeah, so I think we talked about off stream as well, but with Cameron Curl, for the football guys in the chat, guys who used to play the game, really understand the impact and the difficulty of the Curl's play. First of all, especially in the offensive happy and offensive biased league, to avoid pass interference, to be draped over arguably the number 1 pass catching running back in the league is a huge task in itself. But one of the other things he did was what they teach us since day one: tackle low and finish low. Because you see, McCaffrey did try to reach out, but because he had taken his balance away, taken his feet away, Curl was able to force him back. McCaffrey now has to make a business decision. Do I have to reach? Can I reach out and risk a fumble? Because he easily can punch up, or with help tackling, lose the ball. Yeah. Or do I just go down, hope I get a 4th down? You saw he made a business decision and he went down and wasn't a conversion. That changes the game. That's a football play that's extremely difficult to make. And I know we're really harsh on our secondary because they've had their moments of weakness. That is an elite play. There are very few DBs in this league that can make that play against a running back of the quality of McCaffrey. So that's the main thing. I agree with everything else. You were controversial until you said Jonathan Allen was our best defender, and then I said, okay, never mind. No spicy takes. No spicy takes today.
Yeah. But no, I definitely think outside Jonathan Allen, I'm doubling down. Yeah, outside of Jonathan Allen right now, and with the 2 injuries, of course, our defensive ends, I think Cameron Curl is the best defensive player. But no, man, this was an amazing win. This was a must win for sure. I even told my dad, like, we can't get to 3-7 and even think we have, a chance at the playoffs, because you got the Carolina Panthers who would have been 6-5, right? The Eagles, who absolutely, I think they pulled out the W against the.
No, they demolished them. It was a 40-14. Yeah, they demolished it. Yeah,
I think it was like 33-19 at one point.
But it was, but they got 40. So we just checked.
Yeah. So I mean, yes, yeah. But it was like you said, it was domination for most of that game. So with the Eagles winning, I mean, and a potential Carolina Panthers win, I think Washington needed to win this one, and they did, and now.
It's a ball game right now. Division. That's the thing, is that with this new extended season, usually by this point of the season, you can tell who's going to make the playoffs, who's not going to. But it's a wild card right now, and more importantly, we're seeing some upsets. Houston's first win was this weekend. What an upset!
Second one, right?
Or second one. Yeah, second one. But it's over the Titans. Who thought of that? I know, the Bills getting blown out from the Colts, who are a decent team, but to that magnitude, and also they lost the Jaguars. We'll see what happens, because right now we need to see what happens with the Cowboys Chiefs, because if the Cowboys do pull out a victory against the Chiefs team that is surging, I know that in the first half of the season they were struggling, but they are looking unstoppable right now. If the Cowboys can win, I hate to say it, but they're a real threat for the Super Bowl. But that doesn't mean that the Washington football team is out of the race. We need to keep up with the momentum of the Eagles because the Eagles, very similar to us, their defense has come alive. I mean, Darius Slay, fun fact, Darius Slay has more touchdowns this season than A.J. Brown, than Julio Jones, even getting, just behind DeAndre Hopkins. Like, what's going on? The Eagles are surging right now, so we need to keep up the momentum. So that's a great point. Can't rest on our laurels. We've already made 2 huge victories, but the schedule doesn't get any easier. And we're facing the Cowboys twice before the end of the season. So
I agree with literally 99.9% of what you just said, except for that last part about the schedule not getting easier. It will compared to what we just dealt with the first 9 weeks of the season. Although the Cowboys games, of course, now when you looked at the schedule before the season, you were like, okay, the Cowboys, maybe we might win one or maybe win both. But of course, the Cowboys being where they are right now, unfortunately, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's happening. Maybe we will still win one though. With we beat Tampa Bay and like it wasn't like a fluke. It didn't seem like a fluky kind of win, right? Like we beat them. We beat the reigning champs. So who knows? But no, I agree with you, man. Like I'm gonna be honest with you though. You talk about the Cowboys, talk about the NFC East. I think it's a foregone conclusion that the Cowboys are going to win the division.
Oh yeah,
like, I don't even like think about the division. When I say playoffs for this team, I mean wild card. You got 7 seeds in the NFC. The Carolina Panthers going into this week were the 7th seed in the NFC. They were going to make the playoffs if the playoffs started today at 5-5. Now they're 5-6. The Falcons lost as well, and I think they are 5-4.
They're 4-7 now.
4-7. Yeah. And I think the Eagles are 4-6. 4-6 or 4-5?
5-6.
5-6. Okay. Yeah, so we're 4-6. They're 5. So they haven't had bye. But my point is, like, we got to keep pace with the Eagles. We got to keep pace with the Falcons a little bit less. But yeah, the Falcons, even
Panthers,
tiebreaker. Now the Panthers. Oh, speaking of tiebreaker, that's gonna be really important. We have the tiebreaker over the Falcons. We have the tiebreaker over the Panthers now. Eagles, hopefully we get that tiebreaker. That's going to help a lot in our playoff chances, which I think we can talk about now.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is that, the one thing that we have to be careful for is the offensive mistakes, because even though we did have a victory last week and this week, we always have to take it with a grain of salt because, we've been disappointed before and we need to be very careful. Like we mentioned before, Antonio Gibson making a terrible mistake going out of bounds on what should have been the end of the game, but it wasn't.
It feels like every time he carries the ball, I'm worried about a fumble, bro. Like I said that on Twitter, like every single time. He just doesn't hold the ball right, bro. And I know he's an inexperienced running back, but like it's unacceptable.
Another thing we have to be really careful of is what is our tight end situation looking like right now? Because Logan Thomas, he said he would be back, but he's not back. He has a hamstring injury, and he still hasn't played. He's been gone since week 3. And then on top of that, Ricky Seals-Jones is out with who knows how severe of an injury, because with hip injuries, you have to be super careful. Especially in the NFL where explosiveness is everything. It's a very dangerous injury to rush back in. And, we saw that happen with a lot of other players. And I'm sorry, but the person that we had in is not the answer. I already forgot his name. I'm sorry, whoever that was, but
John Bates.
John Bates is not the answer. Last time I checked, he was a practice squad guy that used like on the Bengals, and now he's playing because we have to play him.
Oh, I think you mean someone else. John Bates was the 4th round pick this year.
Apologies, stream. But that should show you that he's not an impact player. I don't want to be mean to who if you got any Bates fans in here, but he's not like an answer to our tight end situation. And so that's a big question mark. What happens with our tight end room when Seals-Jones and Thomas come back? Do we use them together? How does that change things? How does that make things better for the offense? Because this was a close game. I mean, if it wasn't for the Washington football team defense, we easily could have lost that game. Joey Sly, Virginia Tech alumni, come back home as a solid kicker. Ironically, used to be for the Panthers. So there's a lot of questions still to be had. Like you said, Antonio Gibson shows flashes of being a future All-Pro, and then he looks like Le'Veon Bell on the Ravens.
Yeah.
And then, but Scary Terry, is our pillar of stability. Davis looking good. We have a bunch of scrappy slot receivers, honestly. So, the Curtis Samuel is out for the season, so forget about him. It's going to be a tough.
I mean, it's not a guarantee that he's out, but
yeah, okay, yeah. At this point,
he logged a limited practice for the first time in a while, and I don't know if it might not have been a member of the team, but like a reporter said that it might have been Adam Schefter. I think like he's not going to play this week, but he's going to play next.
He might come back, but I'm not relying on Curtis Samuel. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. It's like we can't rely on him to come back as the same player he was before. I mean, he hasn't played football in months, so even it's going to take him at minimum 2 weeks to get back to the old form that he had last year for the Panthers. So we had to remain very cautious with the offense. They need to get better, and the defense needs to stay the same. Keep doing what they're doing right now. But if we want to stay with the Eagles, if we want to stay with the rest of the division, we got to keep it up. Because, I mean, as much as I hate the Eagles, I have to admit Jalen Hurts is looking like a future elite quarterback, and he's making the team better. On paper, the Eagles' offense is way worse than the football team, yet they're putting up – they put up 40 on the Saints. The Saints are no laughing matter. They're, even though their offense may be in shambles, defense hasn't changed. So with the Eagles getting better on both sides of the ball, the football team has to answer. They have to answer offensively because we can't rely on our defense. I mean, look what happened to Carolina today. Their defense kind of falters, has to come down to the offense. And that's not a situation the Washington football team wants to be in, for sure.
I don't know, man. Taylor Heinicke is something different, though. He's the definition of a gamer, like the broadcast crew said today. I don't know. I have more faith. This is kind of crazy. This is definitely crazy for me to say, but I have more faith in our offense right now than our defense. And I felt that way, obviously, at the start of the season, right, when Taylor Heinicke was literally carrying us to wins while our defense was just an abomination. Now the defense is getting better, so it's evening itself out a little bit. But no, Taylor Heinicke, I don't know though. I want to say I trust the offense more, but I feel like I'm already backtracking because Taylor Heinicke, he'll give you this kind of performance 1 week, right? The next week, he'll give you an inconsistent performance that only confirms your belief that he is a backup quarterback in this league. So it's just we need to see more consistency out of him. I will say this, David DC, this is a couple minutes ago, but I don't know I don't think he's gonna be an all-pro, maybe a Pro Bowler. But I think the all-pro guy on this team is definitely Jonathan Allen. And if people want to talk about that, we can talk about that. But yeah, I don't know about all-pro this year. Maybe next year he needs to get more name recognition. That's also something with all-pro, these national honors. Cameron Curl obviously has a lot of recognition here, but if you're gonna ask someone in New York, do you know who Cam Curl is? They'll probably say no, just because he hasn't built that up yet. But Jonathan Allen, he has that Alabama connection, of course, and I don't know. I feel like he should definitely be a Pro Bowl at least, but even all pro consideration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just to resonate a little bit with that. I mean, look what happened to Jonathan Allen, last year, 2 years ago. He didn't have the name recognition and was robbed. I mean, robbed of all pro. The fact that he didn't even he didn't even make the Pro Bowl last year was an insult to the Washington football team. And so you can see that name recognition unfortunately matters a lot in this game. And he's getting overshadowed even by some of the other safeties and DBs in his own division. Everyone's talking about Trevon Diggs. Everyone's talking about Darius Slay. So it's really difficult to kind of break through because a lot of times in terms of the voting, little insight for the stream, when the media and the coaches, a lot of times they want to pick players from the NFC, AFC, they break it down by division. So obviously, who's going to come up first? Like I said, Diggs, Slay. It's going to be really difficult for Curl to come up in that conversation. So unfortunately, we might have to deal with a year or two of him being buried in the media. But as the Washington football team improves, if they ever do, then Curl's going to get his recognition. Purely, unfortunately, it's just a popularity game. A lot of times, your average Adam Schefter, your okay, I'm sorry, I got distracted by that. But your average media person, unfortunately, isn't looking a lot of times at the nuances of football. They want to see the flash. So Curl keeps making those flashy plays. His name will become known. But at this point, it's going to be really difficult for him to become an all pro, even though he deserves to be at least a pro bowler.
Yeah, I mean, bro, Cam Curl, like, I, it's like the stats don't measure how valuable he is to our defense, man. He just makes the right plays. He's such a smart, instinctual like player, and like I'm just glad that he's on our team, and hopefully he's here for a long time. And again, this is crazy to say as a 7th-round pick in the 2020 draft. But obviously we talked about this story before, even with his father. Like he would have been drafted way higher if he had an actual like off season draft process and combine process and actually got to interview with teams. But I'm just lucky. I think we're lucky he's just here because it definitely helped our defense the last 2 years. I want to get to Skull Vikings comments about, yeah, that's a huge win by the Vikings. I'm not gonna, my feelings, Skull Vikings, about Kirk Cousins, but I'm not gonna land on Kirk Cousins today. Like I think you guys, you deserve the W. You got the W. You should be proud of your team. They fought hard. The Packers tried to make it close at the end, but I believe the Vikings still pulled it out.
Yo, your kicker, the first time I'm so Skull Viking, you understand completely. This is the first time in a while Vikings fans can be happy with a Vikings kicker. And he's looking good. I mean, consistent all season. Johnson's looking like a future it can't a cornerstone for kicking. I don't know. I'm not going to say franchise cornerstone, but he's looking like the kicker of the future for the Vikings. So finally, no more Blair Walsh. No more walking L's. Huh?
It's Greg Joseph right now, right?
Oh, Greg Joseph. So, I believe he was a Titans kind of reject, but man, that's what I'm saying. Look at Young Wei Koo too. You don't want to give up on a kicker like that. But Dustin Hopkins, I think we could have goodbye. But in that case, that was a great victory and should be just really excited. Welcome to the Winners Club / Mediocre Club.
That was a great win by the Vikings. Can't really say too much about that. Kirk Cousins, we have our thoughts. You have your thoughts. Go Vikings. We'll leave it at that. But again, big win. He played very well today. I should have picked him up in fantasy. But yeah, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for joining though. I do want to ask you Okay, so we have only 4 minutes left. Because I do have a hard out in a couple minutes. But the last question I want to ask you, what are your thoughts on? Well, it's kind of a two-parter. Very quickly though, Cam Newton, his return to Carolina, Ron Rivera, his return to Carolina. Thoughts on that, and Ron Rivera avenging his loss last year against Carolina and ultimately winning against them at Carolina this year.
Yeah, so my thoughts on that is, Rivera and Newton have come out saying they have an amicable relationship. As a Panthers fan as well, I think a lot of people forget when Rivera was fired, Cam Newton was the first one to step up and defend his former coach. He thanked him for his time in Carolina, thanked him for making the player he is. And that's unfortunate because I'm telling you, the mainstream media loves to paint players as villains. Cam Newton has gotten so much unnecessary hate in his career when he's been nothing but a role model in Charlotte. And, that takes balls to step up to the media and defend the coach that just got fired, even after there were rumors that Rivera didn't like Newton in the locker room towards the end of his first stint in Carolina. So, it was an amicable coming in. I know the media try to hype it up as a huge rivalry, but both of them remain good friends. And Cam Newton looked great. I mean, let's not take anything away from Cam. It took the best from the Washington football team defense to stop him. And he still had 2 passing touchdowns, extremely efficient in the air. Rushing touchdown. And more importantly, he's making the offense better. He's feeding McCaffrey. And more importantly, a lot of times the reason that McCaffrey got injured was because he's put in scenarios that are high risk to any player. The defense has started double stacking the box. Even in garbage time like this, they would even double team McCaffrey to prevent him to get receptions. But because of Newton's threat, with through the air, surprisingly, and on the ground. McCaffrey's got his, his field opened up. DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson too. I think everyone forgets Sam Darnold was the main reason Robbie Anderson looked invisible. He almost, 1,000-yard receiver only a season ago, 2 seasons ago, and was invisible this year. But now he's looking like the old Robbie because Cam Newton is giving him the chance to make plays.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's the main difference, and what makes Cam Newton change this offense is that he gives a chance to players to make a play. I mean, even in that 4th and 3, did it convert? No. But did he trust McCaffrey? Yes. That was a high-risk throw, but he trusted McCaffrey to make the play. Yeah, so that's, in terms of Cam Newton, that's the bright spot. And for Ron Rivera, what can I say? Starting to get a little more creative. Starting to take more responsibility on the defensive side of the ball. He was, before a head coach, a defensive coordinator. He knows the defense. He played for the Bears as a linebacker. Yeah, he was a part of a legendary defense. I think that Rivera was hesitant in his first season in Washington and D.C., but he's taking more and more responsibility as a leader. And when Carolina went to the Super Bowl, Rivera was calling plays on offense and defense, working with the coordinators to make a better football team. So Rivera is starting to do that, and he's starting to not put all the responsibility on his staff, and that is going to change the path of the Washington football team. He needs to take the destiny of the team in his own hands and be more involved, because that's what makes players like him, because he's a player-first player, and that's why there's a huge trend in the NFL to have head coaches be former NFL players or college football players, because they can relate to the players better than anyone else can. So Rivera's, I think he's really improving as a coach and watching a football team, because we know he can do it. He's had some legendary defense. He's part of a legendary defense. He's becoming the Rivera that was hired. I think before he was hesitating way too much and relying way too much on the coordinators to make some of these defensive and offensive plays. But Rivera, you see him very active on the sideline, talking to his coordinators, really improving as a coach here in Washington.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with a lot of what you said. I think Ron Rivera, he's turning this team around slowly but surely, and I'm looking forward to seeing the type of performances they have up next. The next game that they have is against the Seattle Seahawks on Monday Night Football, the Monday after Thanksgiving. So we'll have a whole week of both talking about Thanksgiving, of course, and also talking about the upcoming matchup. And I'm looking forward to it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the DMV Sports Zone channel, where we try to post fire content on here as much as possible. Also, go follow, like, tweet at our Twitter page at DMV Sports Zone, and go follow our Instagram page, all lowercase DMV Sports Zone. Chris, stop saying this, bro. I'm not running. We can have this conversation in the chat or whatever, but thank you for joining. But we are heading out, and have a great Thanksgiving holiday, everyone, and make sure to stay tuned to content that we have upcoming, because the grind never stops.
The grind never is going to be a good week. Fantasy to real life. We got you covered. For sure. All right. Peace, guys.